One of the problems with recruiting for investment banking is not the knowledge or skills you acquire, but the access to talk with real investment bankers to put your best foot forward. Our sponsor, WSO Academy, can provide those connections with 60 head mentors who are finance professionals at top firms like Goldman, Centerview, and JP Morgan. Imagine being able to get on the phone within 24 hours with one of the Academy's 1,300 mentors right before a critical interview. Get on the waitlist for WSO Academy today by clicking the link in the show notes or by visiting wallstreetoasis.com/academy. All right. Welcome to Investment Banking Insights. This is the only show dedicated to helping you learn both the technical and non-technical aspects of the investment banking process. My name is Alex Mason. I am your host, recording live from Ithaca, New York. Let's go ahead and talk about today's topic, which is earnouts. Now, earnouts are a component of merger and acquisition deals. We're going through some of the more advanced topics within mergers and acquisitions. And the question is this: what is an earnout, and why would a buyer offer it to a seller? What is an earnout, and why would a buyer offer it to a seller? Now, first of all, of course, as I like to do on the show, we want to define these things first before we talk about how they apply to the situation and the implications. So what is an earnout? An earnout is a form of deferred payment in a merger or acquisition. So let's say that a buyer wants to purchase a business and they offer them a normal price of, say, $100 million. And the seller says, okay, thank you for your $100 million. And then the deal gets closed, everybody's happy. And then all of a sudden, the sellers of the business, they say, you know what? We don't really feel like managing this business anymore. We've got our $100 million. We're going to go off to the Cayman Islands somewhere and we're just going to chill. You can figure someone else to run this business. Good luck. We wish you the best of luck. Well, what is the buyer to do? The buyer has already purchased this business. They're out $100 million. They own the business, but they were counting on this management team staying in place. And remember, we talked recently about purchase agreements and how one of the sections of a purchase agreement relates to non-compete clauses and non-solicit clauses, things like that. Well, that's the reason why those kinds of clauses are in there. It's because you often want the management to stay in place, at least for a certain period of time, because you want them to run the business well and ultimately create value for you from the buyer's perspective. So this earnout, it's like the other side of it. Instead of having a clause that kind of restricts the seller of doing certain things, this is the other end of the coin. This is an incentivizer where the seller will be able to earn extra money through their dedication, basically, or through achieving some kind of milestone, specific milestone that they need to hit. So let's say that the buyer wants to incentivize the seller of the business to stick around, manage the company over time. And you want the business to continue growing and thriving under the existing team, the systems that are in place, and the overall culture too, because culture is affected by who's actually running the business. So the deal might have an earnout tied to it that looks like this. The seller will earn an extra $10 million if revenue exceeds $150 million 3 years after the acquisition. And that can be the definition of it. And so it's a way of the buyer and seller agreeing to a certain baseline amount of compensation, which is the deal purchase price itself. But there's also this additional cherry on top that's thrown in if things work out well. So it can be good for the seller because they might get paid more, and it can be good for the buyer because they might get more value out of the transaction in the medium term than if they didn't have that kind of an earnout clause written in the contract. So in the case of the seller not meeting whatever the specified target is, well, they would miss out on that extra earnout, that extra profit, and the buyer would basically miss out on the whatever milestones are going to be achieved. However, they did keep the management in place. So that's kind of like the other side of the coin there. So this is what an earnout is and why it might be offered. You can see how it might be applicable to many different situations when mergers or acquisitions are taking place, depending on the situation. So that's what it is. That's what I got for you today here on Investment Banking Insights. I hope you're doing amazing. Hope you're crushing it with your technicals practice, your behaviorals practice. And I know many of you, many of my friends, are on the interview train right now, doing interviews, going to New York, going to different places. And I'm so excited for you. Let me know how your interviews are going, by the way. I'm curious to know and I'm rooting for you. All right. I'll see you next time here on Investment Banking Insights.